Hello and welcome to the next episode. I've done so many to the point where I'm just losing track. Because obviously I've got the DLC parts to also work on. So having to work between Baxter's DLCs and the main moments, it's kind of just confusing me to where I am because one of the moments ended up being a Baxter DLC because of how long it ended up taking. Which is completely fine. Like, I like the short moments because we have like 10 of them, I think. And then we have only like a limited amount of Baxter and Derek DLCs, so they obviously take a lot longer. And I find that like really nice. But obviously we're not doing any Baxter DLCs in this episode. We are doing 2 moments. Considering we ended up ruining one of the things. It's fine. We've worked it out by doing a single episode with Charity that was the previous one. God! I am yapping so much. This is a big intro already. So let's quickly get into it. We are doing Serendipity and something else. Maybe Happiness, I don't remember which one I just said I was gonna do myself. Holding. Light filtered down through the leaves of an oak tree overhead. Light filtered down through the leaves of an oak tree overhead, casting speckled shadows on the sidewalk all around you. There was a drop of sweat slowly making its way down the side of your face. You flicked it away with your thumb, slowly slowing to a stop in the cool shade. The day you had out and about in town, in no hurry to go anywhere. The day you had out and about in town, in no hurry to go anywhere in particular. Your morning shift had just ended, and there was nothing else planned for the rest of the afternoon. Your moms were still at work themselves, and Liz had left early in the morning to do something. You had no idea what. You took out your phone idly, noting the time when it started to jingle. The screen lit up in your hand. Speak of the devil. Liz messaged you. Come home ASAP. I kind of wish that we had like the contact details and the phone icon thing at the top. Like we could at least choose nicknames for like whoever we're talking with. That'd have been cool. Oh well. Before you could even begin to question why, your phone went off again. Nothing bad, but you have to see this, so come back already. With that final message, you were left only slightly less confused than you were before. You hadn't seen much of your sister lately. She had been acting strange for days, always shutting herself up in her room. Which wouldn't be so weird if at the dinner table she didn't suddenly start smirking to herself over nothing. The rare times you did see her, she would sneak you expectant looks, like she wanted to... The rare times you did see her, she would sneak you expectant looks, like she was waiting to be asked what was up. But all your questions led to nowhere. She'd answer you with a put-on sigh, proclaim that she was busy, and tell you that she would have to talk about it later. No hints, no guessing. Whatever it was, she was determined to keep a secret. Maybe now you'd finally find out what it was. As you did an about-face on the sidewalk inside her own home. Oh, no. It should say an about-turn. I don't know if that's different for Americans. You received more texts. To your surprise, the name that popped up on the screen this time was Cove's. Did you hear from Liz? About something urgent you have to see. She messaged Cove too? You weren't surprised. Liz teased him about it, but he was like family. However, you were struggling to understand how he, been Liz's surprise. I also want to note that our supposed purple phone looks more pink than purple. What? Is there something on fire? His reply came only seconds later, and you waited to cross the street. Something tells me it's not that, and something tells me you know that too. You laughed to yourself as you read his message. A short-lived joke, but you knew when to let things go. You got me, detective. Too bad that's all I know. Are you going to see what's up? I'm walking there now. Me too. Glancing, you saw the light change to a walk sign while you were busy texting. You only wrapped things up and texting Cove a quick bye before crossing the street. It was fine. You'll be seeing him later anyway. Not expecting any more messages, you put your phone away so you could walk without having to worry about tripping over the curb. Thankfully, it was a short trek home, and soon enough you were walking up your street. A familiar face of your house already in view, thinking what might be awaiting at home, left you entirely lost. And the more you learned, the more questions you had. They were all buzzing around your head, too many to try and pick out and make sense of. Lost in your thoughts, you almost didn't see who was walking further up the street. Cove. Even from the back, the bright sea green colour of his hair was unmistakable. You quickened your pace to catch up to him, the scuff of your shoe loud against the pavement. He heard it instantly, not missing a beat, as he turned towards you and slowed his steps in sync.
Hey.
Hey, Callie. Hi. Here we are, at my house. And that Cove gave you a wry smile. Here we are. It sounded almost like a question, wondering why the two of you had been summoned there. Any ideas on what Liz wants us for? You shook your head. The situation was out of character for your sister. Anything could happen. Well, I guess we should go in and find out. Taking his cue, you grabbed your keys and opened the front door. Cove trailed behind you as you entered. You walked through the open door and peered about, not sure what you were looking for. From the entryway, you could see Liz pacing across the living room, her small gaze intent on her phone. You'd caught her just as she completed a turn. Behind you, the door clicked shut. The second she heard it, her head darted up in your direction, her features lighting up the side of you and Cove. Ah, you arrived, and together too. That's perfect, just perfect. You flashed you a radiant smile. You could almost see her limbs vibrating, as if she was poised to pounce. Cove raised an eyebrow at your sister's bizarre behavior. What's going on? Oh, you'll see. Liz's eyes narrowed with a mischievous glint, and she let out a little cackle. So, lately, I've been hard at work on a little plan of mine, and you two get the honor of seeing it all come together. Here it is. Surprise! She lifted her hand in the air to present. The very comfortable but completely mundane living room. In resulting silence, you and Cove glanced around again, then made eye contact with each other. His face mirrored your bafflement. Then suddenly another voice rang out in the room.
Surprise!
Rise! Ah! Cove plunged to the shout, his shoulders shooting up to his ears. Laughter came from your sister, as well as from the other side of the room. Your head whipped around just in time to see a familiar figure, with a freckled face and purple cap, springing up from the back of the couch. Cove's mouth fell open, recognition immediately coming to him. Shiloh? Hi, Cove. Hi, Callie. Cove greeted the two of you so casually, like you had been gone for 10 days, rather than 10 years. But I thought you weren't the Shiloh we knew. The initial shock quickly wore off. You crossed your arms and leveled a look at the freckled face who had ditched you at the start of summer. He treated you and Liz like complete strangers. Shiloh shifted nervously, angling the brim of his hat down as if to hide your scrutiny. Liz stuttered at your comment.
Rude.
Don't be rude. I'll explain. When we got home that day, I changed my mind about letting it go. Why'd I have to? Social media exists, right? I thought, why not try finding him, sending him a little reminder message? Luckily, there are only so many 17-year-old Shiloh fields in the world. It wasn't that hard to do. Hearing Liz speak seemed to encourage Shiloh. He pulled himself together to face you and your sister with a careful smile.
Sorry.
I'm really sorry about what happened. When you told me that first time, I was in the middle of a tour for a school field trip. I couldn't get separated from the group and didn't expect anyone to want to be talking to me. I was so worried about getting back to everyone else, I didn't think too hard on what you were saying. When Lizzie's message showed up, everything suddenly hit me. Lizzie, Callie, Cove, you were the kids of Sunset Bird, back when I was a little kid. There was no way I could forget that. Not for real. I do know all of you, and I'm so happy I get to see you again. I have Lizzie to thank for that. My mom was already planning to take a short trip near here this summer.
Well,
If my mom could bring me along, Lizzie offered to pick me up and bring me the rest of the way here so I could visit the neighborhood again. And that's why I decided to make it a big reveal instead of outright telling you to. I got back in contact with Shiloh. Once again, she lifted a hand in the air, properly presenting that long-lost childhood friend you all shared. So, ta-da! You were glad they were able to see each other again. You smiled softly at Liz, remembering how Shiloh used to follow your sister around like a baby chick after his mom, when they were kids. Nice seeing the two of you together like this. Just like old times. Cove blinked slowly, still a little dazed by everything that was going on. Okay, I'm going to get some water. Don't disappear or anything. You've headed off to the kitchen, no need for a chaperone. He knew where the cups were. Wow. You really surprised him, Lizzie, and Kelly too. Did you see their faces when I appeared? Yes, I did. Liz patted the cushioned front of the couch. Make yourself comfortable. You don't have to keep hunkering down behind there anymore. With a laugh, Shiloh crossed around the backside and took the seat. But maybe it was awkward being the only one sitting, because he kept idly twiddling his fingers. You could hear him humming to himself, a nonsense tune with no real melody, something to keep his voice busy. Being here again could be more nerve-wracking than he let on. Cove's soft voice announced his return. He paused to drag the back of his hand across his mouth, wiping away what droplets of water lingered there. Hi, Shiloh. Welcome back. At Cove's confused greeting, Shiloh laughed cheerily. Thanks. It's amazing that you're all still in the same neighborhood. It's just like how it was back then. Shiloh sighed happily at the moment, as Cove raised an eyebrow and gave the room a considering glance. Hey, this is where we met the first time, remember? Right after I moved in, me and Callie were brought down here to have a playdate with you. Yeah! Shiloh laughed, his eyes downcast as he fiddled with the corner of his collared shirt. We almost didn't meet in the living room because you wanted to jump out of the window to get away from me. Cove cringed at that memory of his younger self being pushed back to the forefront of his mind. His mouth going tight, he awkwardly looked away from Shiloh. You have a good memory.
Oh?
Oh, I don't think so. Seeing this place again just brings back a lot of things. He clasped his hands together, an idea suddenly coming to him. But hey, now our group is together. Would you want to go out and visit some of the old places? I've been hiding in the living room since I got here. Liz wasn't afraid to laugh at herself, bringing a hand to her chest to silently take the blame for that. I'd love to. Yeah. Without missing a beat, the others turned to you for an answer. You shrugged in reply. In your moment of indecision, Liz claps her hands together.
Come on.
Can you please come? Do us a favor for me. Your favorite sister? Do you mean my only sister? And therefore your favorite? Well, when you put it like that. Okay, I'll go. Thank you. And with that, the four of you headed out into the neighborhood as one. Even with how short the time you spent indoors was, the sun momentarily blinded. With how short the time you spent indoors was, the sun was momentarily blinding once you left the house. Squinting, you brought your hand up to shield your eyes. The pleasant summer day had yet to go away. Only a few wispy clouds drifted along in the sky. As you strolled down the way, Liz took the lead, followed by you and Cove walking side by side. Jello freely took to walking in the middle of the road, his arms idly swinging back and forth at his side, as he turned his head every which way to take in as much as he could. It was very much a trip down memory lane for him. He wondered how much of the neighborhood had changed in his eyes. Not a word passed between the group about where you were heading at first, but soon enough you found yourselves walking the usual path to the shopping street. Before you reached it, the sounds of it did. A collective of sandals tracking sand, the shrill calls of seagulls, the overlapping conversations of beachgoers, and random strains of music from various stalls. Wow! The odd gasp had come from Shiloh. His eyes were all lit up. Were there always so many different stores in one place?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Wow. I can see why so many people come here. Hey, do they still have those nice little ice cream stands? Yeah, that hasn't changed. Yay, we should get some. It'll be my treat. Thanks, Shiloh. Ice cream sounds perfect on such a hot day. How about you, Cove? You could see that unlike Liz, Cove was still struggling with the decision. A brow wrinkled in thought. Finally, a hesitant smile appeared on his face as he settled on keeping the spirit of this special occasion. Yeah, sounds good to me. Awesome, and Callie? I'll buy one for me and one for you, Shiloh.
Oh.
Alright. What? Shiloh's voice rose an octave, so taken off guard that you would offer such a thing. You never let me do anything for you when we were kids. Now that you're here to visit, you've got to let me treat you for a change. Aw, that's really sweet. Red-faced, Shiloh gave a helpless chuckle. Alright, I'd like it if you paid for me. You're pleased to hear that. Shiloh was still his overly generous self, but not everything was the same. If it had been that time when you were kids, the two of you might have gone back and forth on this forever. Liz not so sadly sidled up to you, her shoulder bumping against yours with a smirk. What a goody two-shoes. You rolled your eyes at the childish insult, but you knew she didn't mean it. She was happy to see you again along with Shiloh. The four of you continued to walk as the ice cream plans were further discussed. Are you getting a popsicle, Lizzie? Yes. Hearing that, Shiloh smiled shyly. I thought you might still like that. I'm gonna get an ice cream cone. Shiloh began to turn towards Cove before he could ask. Cove offered up his choice. I'll get an ice cream sandwich. I'm gonna get a popsicle, following my footsteps. That's touching. You slowly shook your head at her, like you might want a petulant child. Like you might a petulant child. You're allowed to get whatever tree you wanted. You still like those? Cool. Yep. There was an ice cream store further up the street, across from the souvenir shop, displaying postcards. of the seaside, and saltwater taffy in its windows. The ice cream, oh my god. The stand itself was already hard to miss, with its pastel pinks and blues, and its eye-catching poster boards listing every individual flavor. It was impossible to ignore once the catchy jingle playing from its speakers was added. Jello greeted the owner and began picking out the treats that everyone had chosen. He paid for the others, stepping aside to let you buy his as he handed out the rest to their respective owners. You picked out your choice, and that was added to your purchase. Sinking your teeth into your popsicle, you relished the sweet chill it left in your mouth. Liz was right. This was the perfect treat for a summer day. Around you, everyone was eating at their own pace. Liz held her popsicle away from her, careful to not let it drip onto her dress. She was trying to go about eating this as delicately as she could while Shiloh dug into his. You counted only 2 or 3 bites before Cove had devoured his sandwich. Shiloh laughed, also noticing the way Cove inhaled his food. It's already finished? Cove shrugged, a little in reply. His attention focused more on crumpling up the sandwich wrapper in his hand. So, what have you been doing around here since I've been gone? Well, oh my god. Well, I've already told you about me attending college away from here, so I don't really live here anymore. But to be more specific on my life, I'm pursuing a degree in architecture. Jello perked up at that, his mouth falling in awe. Amazing! Thanks! Actually, I was thinking about it, and the first time I really decided I like building things. And building them was when you and I would make sandcastles out on the beach. Aww, Lizzie! That's such a sincere admission from your sister. All Shiloh could do was blush and lower his head, too flattered to know what else to say. Liz laughed just as flustered, though she had been the one to say it. The atmosphere was awkward, but not unpleasant. Shiloh shyly glanced over at you and Cove. Then what about you two? What have you been up to?
Oh.
Me and Kelly just graduated. High school, I mean. I've got a part-time job, I volunteer at this organization to clean up stuff, things like that. You explained how you had a lot of plans. There were so many possibilities that you could see yourself, and much of it was already in motion. Kelly just seemed happy to hear that. Great! Being around him again was a little like picking up an old forgotten habit. Funky at first, but as the four of you talked, it started to become more naturally. And when one of you ran out of things to say, suddenly someone else remembered something new. Oh, right! Do you remember those mean old, not actually grandparents that used to live in our neighborhood? Yeah, they were so mean. Well, they're not here anymore. Oh no! They're not spending summers here anymore. They're still alive. Thank goodness. It helped that Shiloh was just as eager to hear what had gone on in his absence as people were to tell him. Soon everyone threw out what trash they had in a nearby garbage can, as your group made their way down to the beach. Going down the shore inevitably led to a sand spot. It didn't take long for Shiloh to recognize what was in the distance. His words trailed off in the middle of a sentence, his footsteps faltering at first. Then, all at once, he broke away from the group, dashing right to the old park, giggling as he ran. Oh, everything's so small. His laughter petered out as he came to a stop by the swings, and grabbed one of the sport poles. He walked around in a little circle around it, marveling at how easily his hand wrapped around its entirety. Emboldened by Shadow's enthusiasm, Lizzie plopped herself down on one of the swing sets, only to instantly show an expression of regret. There was no way she was comfortable in that tiny seat so low to the ground. Note how she had to scrunch her legs to fit there. Shadow creeped up behind her. He took one of the chains of her swing in each hand.
Seriously?
What are you doing? And with a grin, Charlotte started to walk back. Lizzie shifted in her seat to look at him. You cannot be trying to push me. These are made for kids. It's never gonna work. But Charlotte just hummed and kept pulling her back. Resigning herself to her fate, Lizzie tucked her legs up as much as possible, as Charlotte moved his hands to her back. With a running start, he got her forward enough as far as he could go before jumping out of the way. Liz had her eyes squeezed shut and a screech escaping her as the swing started to fall backwards. And when it swung back around, there was Shiloh. There was Shiloh again to push her. She couldn't kick the ground like when you were kids. Her legs were too long for that now. But Shiloh was pushing her enough to keep the momentum going. The air was filled with their wild laughter and the almost rhythmic jangle of the swing chains. Cove sat against the bars of the jungle gym, wearing a bent smile as he watched them. He was fiddling with something, turning it over and over in his hands. When you craned your neck to get a better view, he obligingly lifted it up for you to see. It was a smooth piece of shell, one side rough and mottled grey, the other side completely smooth, revealed a faint blue sheen when it caught the light. I saw it on the beach. It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good one. No, I meant Shiloh. He seems more confident than I remember. Why don't you push me on the swings like that? Cove narrowed his eyes at you, folding his arms with a bemused smile. Why don't you push me on the swings like that? If Shiloh can do it for Liz, you can do it for me too. Well, he had you there. Soon your sister began to speak out. Alright, I'm ready to get off now. How'd you stop this? Don't worry. Shiloh braced himself, one foot planted forward as the swing started coming back down. Then, in one quick motion, he reached up and caught the chains again. The impact had his feet skinned back in the sand, but he kept his stance steady. If Liz was surprised at suddenly being brought to a halt, she didn't know how to show it, only tilting her head up to smile at him. Jello had yet to catch his breath, though returned the smile just as brightly. He let go of the chains and walked around the swing set, briefly rubbing his hands together before offering one to Liz, which she graciously accepted, needing the help to get out the tiny seat. Then the two of them made their way back over to you and Cove. Liz was looking more rough than usual, and her somehow was off kilter, having to hold on for dear life for the entire ride. She took a moment to straighten her outfit back into place. That looked like fun. It was! Even though you were just pushing me on the swings. Yeah, that was the fun part. Huh. Hey, Shiloh, you've got an idea of what our lives had been like since you've been gone, but I've been wondering, what has happened to you after you moved away? Shiloh's eyes went wide, as if that was surprising to hear. You couldn't recall him talking about himself when you were all telling stories. But maybe he hadn't been able to find the right timing. He brought his hand to his chin, tapping it thoughtfully, as he looked up to the side. Well, what happened was my mom decided to move back to the south, closer to where I was born. We stayed there for a few years until she got another job offer in California, again, thanks to a connection she had here. It was a really good job at a private boarding school, so she decided to take it. With a wide grin, he said the next part. And as a bonus to her, kid, me, gets to attend the school and live in the dorms for free. I've been there since my second grade of middle school. Pretty soon I'm going to be starting my last year of high school. Liz leaned towards him with an attentive smile on her face. Have you been doing well there? Getting good grades? Got any friends? At the list of questions, Shiloh held his hands in front of himself, as if they were physical things he could starve off.
Yeah.
Yeah, to everything. It can be a little hard sometimes because of how people are in school, but I'm happy. How people are? Cove couldn't guess what that meant, but Liz folded her arms, scowling. Don't tell me there's more people like that Nate guy hanging around. Jalen rubbed at his cheek, laughing nervously. He glanced up from the bars of the jungle gym to the laces of his shoes to the trees swaying in the distance, unsure where to rest his gaze. Not exactly. He doesn't mean to be mean. It's just, he just kind of is. He's the school's #1 performer for athletics and academics. He always takes on so much responsibility that the only possible way he can finish it all is if nothing goes wrong. But that's impossible, so he's always stressed and ready to snap. He can't handle it when someone seems to be causing a problem. That's why during the field trip he was upset when I went off on my own like that. Still, he's really smart, reliable, and sensitive. And he cares about me a lot. Most of the time he doesn't realize his way of dealing with stuff upsets other people. Cove had a patient smile on his face, listening earnestly. A shadow rattled off his list of Nate's good traits. You know him pretty well. Are you actually friends? Well, not exactly. Me and Nate are in the same after-school group. About once a month, me and 6 other students and a supervisor get to talk together. We all did it last year, and I think next year we're going to be in the same group again. I hope so. I'm glad Nate's not so bad after all. Especially since Charlie might have been in the same after-school group as him next year. Liz shook her head to your words. It would take much more of her to be convinced of Nate's upstanding character. Honestly, I would still appreciate having a word with Nate about his communication skills. Her tone of voice was low and pointed. You should be worried for Nate, if not for that playful smile that accompanied her words. Charlie let out a laugh at that. I do have Nate's number, but he wouldn't pick up. People in my group only answer when they feel like hearing from me. So, usually I have to wait for them to call. Either that or they never consider answering my calls, or calling me, or talking to me at all unless the supervisor forces them to. It was such a bleak description of his dynamic with his group, but he didn't seem to realize it until he glanced up and saw concerned looks on everyone's faces. His mouth fell. He hastened to add one more thing. Well, except for one person who always answered for sure. Oh? She immediately packed up.
Really?
So, that's a friend of yours? He hesitated to answer. Something Cove picked up on. Not exactly. Yeah. I like to be friends though. Alright. Let's cross our arms together once more. Grim faced like she was the commander of a ship about to lead her little crew into battle. You should call them right now. What? If you want to be friends with them, I can help. If you're going to be in the same group again, then you should at least try to get along. No, I couldn't. He quickly grew flustered, his tongue stumbling over sentences. I don't want to be bothered. Liz, what are we gonna do? Watch him while he talks to someone on the phone? No, Cove. Shiloh. The last syllable of Shiloh's name trailing off into nothing. It soon became clear Liz had not fully thought the plan yet. But she wouldn't be Liz if she stopped there. Shiloh could put them on video call, and we could all talk together, of course. She clapped her hands together. A wide smile on her face didn't leave room for dissenting options.
Alright.
It's a good idea. It'll work. Cove's right. It doesn't make sense for us to crowd around Shiloh while he's on the phone. Not how you make friends. Go smile at you, relieved to see that someone was seeing reason too. Come on, Shiloh. We'll Well, just talk to them. Say that we're your friends from out of town. The worst that could happen is nothing changes. But once they have more chances to talk to you, I know they'll be convinced to be better friends. It's going to turn out okay. He only stalled to answer, but his hands was already hovering over one of his pockets of his pants. Alright. We can talk. Yes! Liz clenched a hand into a fist, cheering as Shiloh officially reached into the pocket and pulled out his phone. You noticed it was the same type of model as your own, but he had a red case around it. The screen lit up, and Shiloh requested a video call with some number in his contacts. None of them on the list had names. You must remember what number belongs to what person. He inched closer to the three of you, so everyone could hear better. Basically, you wondered how this would look from the outside. 4 teenagers on the verge of adulthood, hanging out on an old playground, all huddled up around a single phone. Strange? Suspicious? The ringing of the phone broke out of your musings. You could keep your eyes on it, your heart speeding at the end of each dial. No. Thinking, could this be it? Only to have another one start up. It'd been ringing for a while when you started to think of what Cove said about all of you watching Shiloh talk on the phone. Maybe even that wouldn't happen. Shiloh could sense the awkwardness in the air, smiling to try and dispel it. This is normal. Don't worry. Just as he said, the call ended, not even going to voicemail. Shiloh clicked to redial. He never answers on the first call. He always does on the second. That's how he is. At least for most people. There are exceptions. You, Liz, and Cove furtively shared ambitious looks. None of you wanting to accidentally discourage Shiloh. Then you focused on the phone again, as it started to ring once more. The jingling suddenly cut off in the middle, followed by the faint sound of white noise. With a big smile and flushed cheeks, Charlie brought the phone up to his face. A voice, low and groggy, came rasping out of the speakers. Hello? Charlie, on the other hand, was much chirpier.
Hi.
Hi! I'm visiting a town I used to live in when I was little, and wanted to introduce my group mate to the people I knew back then. Some of them have already met Nate. Can you say hey to them too? With that rushed introduction, Shiloh stuck the phone outward to Cove, gesturing for him to greet the other person on the other end. Although Cove hadn't been on board in the beginning, the only indication of that now was the lopsided toe of a smile. He turned his gaze down to the screen, opening his mouth to speak, only to stir to a complete stop. Huh. All Cove could do was sputter and gape at the screen. His reaction had Shiloh brow crinkling in worry. What? Shiloh's groupmate didn't sound particularly impressed with how this conversation was going so far. Shiloh frowned, retracting his arm away from Cove, and as he did so, the screen tilted towards you and you caught a glimpse of what was on the screen. Light green hair, sharp orange eyes, shadowed with bags and icy pale skin, all tied together to make up the scowling face of a person who clearly had no desire to be here. You knew him. A flood of memories arose, flashes of that one summit years ago at this very same park. You holding on to arrangement of fruit. Derek and Cove at your side. And that kid. Mean as a tiny chihuahua, snapping at everyone who dared to come close. Are you Jeremy? Yeah. His reply was palpably disinterested. How'd you know his name was Jeremy? You didn't tell them? No. I only called you somebody from my group at school. Jeremy regarded you cautiously. For the first time, given the situation a little of his focus. Cove bristled, sucking in a long, deep, dramatic breath.
Oh my god.
Oh my god! And all at once he started shouting. Not with only his voice, he waved his arms around, gesturing wildly with his hands as he repeated, yelling, "Oh my god," with all sorts of implications. "Oh my god, oh my god." At these antics, Jeremy gave a short huff of sigh through his teeth. The sound of tinnying over the phone speakers. "What is this, Shiloh? Are you trying to make me suffer? Are you still mad about what happened at the amusement park? I was on your side, you know." Liz, who had been entirely lost this whole time, finally spoke up.
Huh?
"What happened at the amusement park?" But no one paid that question any mind. "I don't know what's going on. Have you met each other before?" "Nope." That was an immediate reply from Jeremy, but those stinging eyes squinted. Wait. There was a flash of recognition there as he leaned his head forward and scrutinized both of you. His already wide frown somehow found a way to grow deeper at his realization.
Oh, it's you people. Again.
"Oh, it's you people again." The screen instantly went blank. Jolly gasped, looking from his phone to the rest of the group. Huh. He hung up. Jeremy doesn't just hang up on people like that. What happened? "Don't look at me. I've never met that kid before." You could feel Cove's stare poking and prodding at the side of your head. You caught his expression, wide-eyed and tense. You knew what happened. Cove knew what happened, but he wasn't given any answer to Shiloh. "I done a cup of water on him. He earned it."
What?
"You what?" "Kelly, really?" He resisted the urge to grin and simply shrugged. "I've got to call him back. You can make up." "Don't do that. Can we drop this instead?" Jolly didn't even seem to hear you. No one attempted to interject. The phone rang for a long time, long enough that you were surprised when Jeremy actually picked up. He answered with an even longer sigh.
What?
"What?" Jello held the phone close to his face, looking down at the screen with large apologetic eyes. "Are you okay?" "I would have been better if you didn't call back." Aw, Jeremy. Can't we talk it over? I don't want any of us fighting."
Do I have to?
"I have to." "Yeah, I think so." Jello held his phone out towards you and Cove once more. Next to you, Cove glared defensively and silently. "This is a bad idea." The words came out quietly. Jeremy continued to stare at your stern face. Finally, Jeremy's shoulders dipped slightly. He made the most of the exaggerated sigh you'd ever heard, since the previous one at least.
Sorry.
I don't remember exactly what I did or said to you, but sorry." "What?" Jeremy sighed yet again, and you were sensing a pattern. His gaze rolled over to Cove. "I do know what I was like as a kid." "Well, okay, but who is that apology for?" "It better be for me and Callie." He spoke sternly, though there was no hiding the shakiness present. That didn't matter. Cove was coming to your defense by confronting Jeremy for a warm smile to your face. Jeremy, on the other hand, continued to be unimpressed. The corner of his lip twitched. I didn't need to speak to whatever the teenage guy equivalent of a smushy squeak is. But now I do. Thanks for that." A small offended noise escaped Cove. Unfortunately, it was also squeaky sounding. His face immediately burnt red with embarrassment. "That's my squeak toy you're on about? That's my squeak toy you're talking about?" With your thumb, you pointed at Cove for emphasis. Cove huffed in disbelief, but he couldn't fight the smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Jeremy didn't react at all. He continued watching the 4 people on the other end of this unwanted call, lackadaisically.
Whatever.
This apology is for whoever. Anyone who had to deal with me back then wasn't having a good time. Apparently you just had the spine not to take it. And that's whatever. Amazed, Cove took a few processing moments before he could respond. He blinked and rubbed the back of his neck. Oh, thanks. I mean, it's no problem. I've still got my eyes on you. Already you were bracing yourself for wherever this conversation was going to take you. Jeremy rolled his eyes. Whatever. Following Cove's eye, you watched it dart from Shiloh to Jeremy, openly wondering what happened to Jeremy over these past few years. So, you're nice now? Nope. I don't throw tantrums or pick fights anymore, but I'm not nice. Jeremy shook his head in disbelief. That squeak toy comment wasn't a compliment, you know. I don't have the energy to get angrily worked up like I used to as a kid. Still pointless anyway. Now I'm just miserable. His tone was grumpier than usual, and dragged the syllables out on his last words for extra emphasis. Oh. An awkward laugh escaped Shiloh, then he mouth pulled into a demure smile. Don't let what Jeremy says about himself get you down. He's got people who care about him, and make sure he's okay, like me. Don't listen to him, Shiloh. Don't listen to Shiloh. He didn't say anything. It was too hard to know how to respond to any of it. He'd rather wait and see at this point. Okay, seriously, how long am I meant to be able to loop her? Her expression twisted in frustration as Liz rubbed her right temple. Why am I the only one who doesn't know this kid? Charlotte goes to school with him, that's fine. But how the 2 of you meet him and I didn't? He tried to explain. You were there, I think. He was around town one summer, maybe 5 years ago. Is that all? While Liz seemed a bit underwhelmed, Jello appeared to be utterly amazed. He had to hold back a small laugh.
Really?
You knew Jeremy as a little kid. What was he like? I've only known him for a year and a half. Well... His voice immediately hushed into nothing. You could see Cove wince, just thinking of those past encounters. You'd already pictured past Jeremy in your mind. He was a mean kid. You weren't sure how to explain him besides that simple term. Cove nodded firmly in agreement. It didn't matter what happened, he was mad about everything. He really was. Jeremy's expression didn't give away a single sign of what he might have been thinking. He continued to blandly stare at both of you until he finally spoke. Yep. Sounds like me. That confirmation, Charlie burst into uncontrollable laughter. Even when he calmed moments later, gasping for air, there was still a wide grin plastered on his face. I can't even imagine Jeremy being like that. I can't imagine him not being like that. They both chuckled again. Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile. I mean, Jeremy hasn't made fun of my eyebrows once this whole conversation. Unbelievable. Huh. Jeremy blinked and focused all of his attention on Cove. His eyes unmistakably narrowed in on the eyebrows. He didn't say anything at first, then the words came out in a mumble. That makes sense. I guess insulting eyebrows was just what I did as a kid. What does that mean? What do you think it means? I'm not the only kid in the world with bad eyebrows. And you're not the only one I picked on for it.
Seriously?
I wasn't? You couldn't help yourself, could you? Nope. Wow. So, what made the eyebrows bad? Are you curious if yours are any better? My terrible eyebrow standards, at least. Kind of. Yeah. Sigh. Incredulously, Cove looked from Jeremy to you, then back to him again. You questioned if you heard that right. He spoke the word sigh instead of actually sighing. Noticing the reaction, Jeremy sighed for real, but continued on to answering Cove's question. This guy has particularly odd hair coloring. White hair, but only on the top of his head. Every other strand of his body is dark brown, including his immensely bushy eyebrows. He was born that way. It's not dyed. So, you were the scared boy with dumb wavy eyebrows, and he was the white-haired boy with stupid caterpillar brows. Ow. Unexpectedly, a loud gasp came from Shiloh at that description. No! You picked on Pran for his eyebrows? I did. I'm sure you find that hilarious. No! It's not very funny. So, he said, but Shiloh was smothering laughter. An unconvinced note in Jeremy's voice didn't surprise you. Okay. Wait, give me a second, let me just... Jeremy rolled his eyes in the slowest, most exaggerated way possible. When he made a complete circle, he spoke flatly, while Shiloh broke into a fit of giggles. There. Who's Pran? Shiloh knows him too.
Well...
Jeremy and Pran have known each other for a long time. They managed to go to the same boarding school later on. I met them both there in spring of last year. We're all group mates. Jeremy's gaze slid away from Lit. Oh my god. Farmer. Jeremy's gaze slid away from Shiloh. It looked somewhat between you and Cove. Pran and I met about 4.5 years ago, back when I was still a terrible brat, and Pran was meek. You can only imagine how amazing that combination is. Yeah. It must make those group meetings awkward. Nope. Somehow, someway, for some reason, Pran chose to suddenly stick with me for as long as we've known each other. He's my best friend. What? It's surprising, I know. I have a best friend, and it's the caterpillar brow guy of all people. But I guess things balanced out in the end. Pran's timid nature is good and dead. He grew up to be colder than even me. I'm mopey and he's broody. A perfect match. Two peas in ruining everyone's life pod.
Gross.
Don't quote Everett. Cove whined after Jeremy snapped at his last remark. Now who's Everett? You don't want to know. Yeah, you don't want to know. Jello hummed, and he watched his 3 old friends with an amused smile. He was having fun. Before you could say anything, Jeremy continued. Everett is also a part of the group, unfortunately. But he chose not to elaborate further than that. Liz sighed this time. You could feel her frustration. You couldn't blame her for that. She hadn't been able to participate much at all. She didn't know Jeremy then, so there was no basis for reminiscing now. And there was a 10-year gap in her history with Shiloh. The whole situation struck an odd chord with you. The 2 boys you knew separately came to know each other, and now they know each other much better than they know any of you. Shiloh was almost a stranger. Shiloh was almost a stranger. You didn't know how to feel. You were happy to know Shiloh was busy living his life, fulfilling it with new friends, but it was hard to not feel sort of left behind. And then it was utterly bizarre that he had been bonding with Jeremy. Turning to the three of you, Shiloh smiled apologetically. He wondered if he was picking up how much in the dark you, Liz, and Cove were feeling. He was perceptive when he wanted to be. At least, that's what you remembered of Shiloh. Who knew what he was like now? Hey, I don't think you want to hear about Jeremy. I can tell you all about him. We should get to know each other better. Don't do that. It'll be okay. Jeremy whined, but Shiloh brushed off his complaints. He remained happily focused on the rest of you, and Liz seemed to back up at the conversation shift. That sounds great. We should get to know Jeremy. So, who wants to go first? Despite being eager, it was obvious that Liz didn't have any ideas herself. Jeremy let out a very long sigh. Welcome to his bowl cut and glasses. He had a bowl cut? That sent Shiloh into a fit of laughter, while Jeremy shook his head disapprovingly. Through chuckles, Shiloh continued with his best guess. His mom and dad probably decided back then, or now he picked, or they developed new tastes over the years. As for his glasses, Jeremy could wear contacts at school, and when he's out and about. But he still wears glasses when he's at home or working part-time at his parents' hobby shop. What are his parents like? They're nice and optimistic. They work really hard when they can be. Smothering, sort of. And they usually embarrass Jeremy. Jeremy seems unenthused by Shiloh's answers. What's his full name? Jeremy Marion King. Isn't that neat? Why do you even want to know that? Are you planning on stealing my identity? That got a laugh out of you. Jeremy sighed. You can have it. Okay. When's his birthday? May 4th. He's a Taurus. Jeremy refused to comment on that. Instead, he rolled his eyes. Can I get his number? What? Why?
Alright.
Sure. Ignoring Jeremy again, Shiloh immediately started listing off the number for you. Jeremy grimaced, while you intently saved it in your contact list. Does he have any siblings?
Nope.
No, Jeremy's an only child. He doesn't have pets either. Although Pran spends almost no time with his family a lot with Jeremy's. It's kind of like a similar relationship, I think. Don't bring Pran into this awful thing. Okay. Does he have any hobbies? See, it's gone from grayscale now. Reading crafty handwork type of stuff. Oh, and archery. Jeremy is really talented. Seriously, that's really cool. Jeremy scoffed at the compliments. He clearly wanted to move on from this conversation. Is he doing well in school? Yeah, Nate's still doing the best. But Jeremy gets respectable scores. Well, unless by doing well you mean if he's having a good time, or making friends, then in case. No, he's not. He wasn't sure how to respond to that at all. Glancing back at Jeremy, he rolled his eyes. How tall is he? 5'5". He's kind of short. So short king. Respectable. Gotta have some short kings around somewhere. What did happen at the amusement park? Oh. Actually, I don't know. I can only think of one time when we were both there. I'm not sure what part he's talking about. As far as I could tell, I didn't do anything to upset him, and I know he didn't do anything for me. Sigh. Is that... That's what you're going with, Shiloh. Jeremy, what happened? I'm not gonna tell you. It's humiliating, and Shiloh knows I'm not gonna say anything. That's why he won't explain either. For several quiet moments, everyone stared at Shiloh and Jeremy in confusion. Taylor had a similar look on his face before averting his eyes. Sorry, I can't help you with this one, Callie. That's everything I can think of. Cool, thanks for asking. Cove, do you have any questions for Jeremy? Stunned, it took Cove a moment to recover from being put on the spot. Ultimately, his eyes shifted from Shiloh and locked on with Jeremy's. They remained like that long enough that it was as if they could speak telepathically. Alright, yeah. I have a question, but Shiloh can't answer. Fine. Ask me. Let's get it over with. What do you think of me? Even if you don't think I'm tough or something, what do you think? What do you think of me? Even if you don't think I'm tough or something, do you still think? Do you still feel like I'm stupid and wrong about everything? A crack formed in Jeremy's lackadaisical expression. His barely open eyes lifted a little more, but he still spoke flatly. My opinion on stuff is basically the least important thing you could ever worry about. It's pointless. Well, I'm still asking, so... Cove, right? That's your name? Cove nodded. There was a tint of pink on his cheeks as he bashfully rubbed his arm. Okay, Cove. You seem like a guy who cares a lot about things that I don't... Okay, Cove. You seem like a guy who cares about a lot of things that don't matter. It sounds pretty dumb to me. I outgrew that years ago. And being as tough as you act, it isn't something I would ever do, basically. But, you know what the absolute dumbest thing really is? Cove shook his head with creased brows, then leaned forwards just a bit, like he couldn't risk not hearing what revelation Jeremy was going to bestow on him. Making yourself miserable if you don't have to be. Oh. If you and the rest of the people are here to enjoy existence, then you should go ahead and do that. Stay gentle and happy, dumb eyebrow guy.
You have my approval, if that's what you wanted.
You have my approval if that's what you wanted. I hope you all have wonderful lives and suffer as little as possible. Wow. The words tumbled out softly. Cove was earnest, amazed by Jeremy's words.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you know what's not gonna make you stay happy? What? Talking to a downer like me. So you really should end this conversation right now. None of you should ever call me again for the rest of our lives. That sounds good. Can I hang up already? Oh, wait, Jeremy, I can't never call you again. Shut up, Shiloh. Unfazed, Shiloh laughed with the tail of his head. Building something good is only trying to undercut it. That's the Jeremy I know. Sorry. The word dripped with sarcasm and was accompanied by a smirk. It was the first time you saw him smile this entire time. Cove peeked up meekly, an awkward smile of his own on his face. Maybe my opinion is totally skewed, because I'm comparing things to how Jeremy used to be. But I mean, you don't seem that bad. What? Cove needed to look away from Jeremy's painfully sharp eyes to finish his thought.
I mean...
I'd probably be okay talking to you again. Come on, you can have standards. I want to keep talking with Jeremy too. Jeremy groaned loudly at your acceptance of him. Your smile only widened in amusement, and Liz clapped her hands. Wonderful. Now that we're much closer to this Jeremy kid, I think we can all get along together and be friends. Friends. Jeremy repeated the word back like it was a foreign phrase. He genuinely didn't seem to understand. That's right. If we keep working on it, I don't see why the five of us can't be friends. He stared at Liz incredulously for several moments. Her expression twisted into French confusion of her own. Okay. 3 things. First, I already have one whole friend, and that's more than enough. Second, I still don't know who you are. You don't even say your name at any point. And third, importantly third, one of the people in this friendship is Sherlock Fields. He and I aren't gonna be friends. Why not? I'm Liz, by the way. Because he's Shiloh. Our relationship is already as good as it's ever gonna be. He mercifully leaves me most of the time and on weird occasions where he needs something, I just get it over with. And then he goes away again, and I have a modicum of peace. You know how that works, right? You're in it with me, we have the best arrangement as possible, but the way it is. Jeremy looked to Shiloh seriously to pick up the validity of their relationship, but Jeremy shook his head with a laugh. I don't try to hang out too much, but that's because you're shy. You're the only one who thinks that setup is actually a good idea. Sorry. Jeremy turned his face to the side and let out another exaggerated sigh. Cove and Liz both joined on Shiloh's mouth. Jeremy got no support.
Sigh.
Of course you'd say that. Why do I even bother? That's Shiloh's famous memory for you. Lizzie's chuckling stopped. Wait, what does that mean? Shiloh's famous memory? What? Whatever. Basically, Shiloh annoyingly remembers everything that happens for all eternity. At least until some piece of info he has isn't helpful anymore, or he's got explaining to do, then magically, all of a sudden, he doesn't know anything about it. His boldly inconsistent recollection of situations is pretty much a running joke. It's Shiloh's shtick, one of them anyway. The scout dug into Shiloh's base as Jeremy spoke. Cove lost his smile seeing her reaction. Shiloh remained silent with his big childlike eyes locked on your sister. Jeremy began to shrink away from the screen at the changing atmosphere. He broke eye contact with everyone. I'm guessing he didn't mention that. No, he didn't. And he said he forgot something to you? I do recall him saying a little like that. Sorry. But, well, apparently you had the pleasure of meeting Nate. You know me, and I talked a bit about Pran and, Everett, too. And we're all in that unbearable group, and we're all unbearable people. What amazing coincidence, huh? What we're about is kind of hard to hide. I'm gonna go now. I don't want to be the fifth wheel to your little group. You three people have a good day, I guess. And Shiloh, I'll see you back at the school.
Bye.
Bye. Jeremy promptly ended the call, and just as people had begun to warm up to him, he accidentally found a new way to ice the mood again. Shiloh, now averting his own gaze, put his phone away and chuckled.
So...
I know that Jeremy didn't think highly of me, but it's even worse than I thought. It's really sad. Shiloh? Her phone tone immediately brought Shiloh's focus back to her. When she got his attention, however, Liz's voice became small. When we first met you in the city, did you know who you were? Did you pretend not to recognize us? The two old friends watched each other for a beat. But ultimately, Shiloh closed his eyes with a lopsided smile. Aw, Lizzie, you've got to know I could never really forget you. Liz was speechless, but it wasn't quiet. Cove couldn't stop himself from shouting out. Oh my god, you were lying to them? Lying is a strong word. I was, improvising. Yep, that makes way more sense than you not figuring it out. It was weird to think that he was trying to trick you, but the interaction was a lot more understandable that way. Go home, Shiloh, or go to my house and wait there until we can send you home. Okay. With his shoulders dipped and head low, Shiloh obediently left the park alone. He disappeared down the road. Oh my god. After he disappeared up the road, Liz sat her butt down right onto the sand, with no concern for how dirty her dress might get this time. You went out to Shiloh just to talk to him. Watch, Liz. I'll be back.
What?
What? You didn't give him an explanation, and you shot out the park quick. You just shot out to the park after Shiloh. You called up to him on your neighborhood street. He must have noticed your footsteps because he was standing in the middle of the road, waiting. You couldn't read his expression, and he didn't say anything. I want to talk. He smiled while fiddling with the rim of his hat. We will. Later. Thanks for trying. And that was it. He turned his back on you and continued his walk of shame. He wanted to wait, like Liz asked, even after all this time. He listened to her. There was nothing you could do. You left him there to rejoin the others at the park. Cove seemed concerned for you when you arrived, but you quickly reassured him when you sat down. He nodded and gave you space by your sister. She hadn't moved from where you had left her, however your presence caused her to stir. You can go. We're done. Cove shared an unsure look with you. She wanted to be alone, but this wasn't the time for that. You're not going anywhere. Accepting that you were going to be here for this, she let out a groan. At the same time, Liz pulled all the sides of her hat down, gripping it tightly in frustration. I can't believe he pretended he didn't know us. When was Shiloh too good to catch up with acquaintances? It's infuriating. Am I an idiot thinking we could talk? You wrapped your arms around her. You wiggled closer and pulled your big sister into a hug from the side. You continued to hold even when she didn't let go of her hat. Shiloh lied to us. It's not your fault. Seriously, he's a tool.
Fine.
I know. I shouldn't care. It doesn't matter if I know, I shouldn't care. But it doesn't matter if one person doesn't want to be my bestie. He's not the greatest man on earth. I'll be fine. I brought him here all the way from the other side of the state. I don't even know why he did any of this. Liz finally removed her hands from the brim of her hat in order to rub her temples instead. It blows. Cove snorted some nervous laughter at her unexpected phrasing. She didn't mind it. Say the word and I'll force the answers out of him. Please don't. You'll go to jail. Fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, baby kiddo. She squished you tight and rocked you back and forth in a dramatic hug. You let out a Cove-like squeak. I love you. I love you too. And what's family for? Well, I thought it was hogging the phone while growing back up. Well, I thought it was for hogging the phone while growing up, but this works. She released you with a shaky, self-impressed laugh. Oh, and thank you too, Cove, for being around. We were practically family ourselves, right? She shot him a wry smile, and he chuckled bashfully. Yeah, no problem. Good, good. Liz rested her eyes after those last couple of words. It eased your heart to see her feel better. Cove let out a soft sigh of relief. Hey. Cove then brought his face close to yours so he could speak in a whisper.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? I know Liz was his best friend, but you knew him too. And you were there when he did his whole pretend improvisation act. Don't worry about me.
No way.
You know that's impossible. I know. Thanks for asking. You're welcome. Cove did his checkup by reaching over to pat you on the shoulder reassuringly. Your long-time neighborhood group sat together quietly in the sand, just enjoying the feeling of familiarity and support. You weren't entirely how much time passed, but you eventually was caught off guard by a soft call in the distance. In unison, the three of you turned your heads to the sound, and there, standing at the edge of the playground, was Shiloh himself. He waved. You waved back. It was a simple sign to show that you didn't reject his reappearance. Hi. You weren't sure what else to say. What's that? I couldn't hear you from over there, but don't get up on my account, I'll come to you. Really, Shiloh? Alright. You knew he heard what you said. Shiloh approached with easy strides, as if you'd been welcomed. You were floored with how much confidence or shamelessness the boy was apparently capable of now. Liz turned her face and refused to acknowledge what was happening. She might have been trying to think of happy thoughts and wish Shiloh's presence away. Unfortunately, it didn't work. When Shiloh arrived, he popped down in the sand with the rest of you, his legs crossed forward and crisscross.
Hi.
Hi. Get lost, Shiloh. I will, just in a minute. What do you want now? Well, I figured you'd want to talk to me after you had some space. I ought to let you do that, even if you're gonna yell at me. Liz finally faced him to be free to snap at Shiloh with full force. And why in the world would you think that? Unfazed, Shiloh looked at her softly. You haven't changed that much, Lizzie. You're the one who found me online, and I brushed you off earlier this summer. When have you ever preferred leaving something unresolved in the end? You didn't even get a chance to let me explain why I did it. I bet you're dying to do that. Liz ground her teeth, quietly fuming. Shiloh caught it right, and it sucked for her. Fine, I'll bite. Give me your excuse.
Well,
It was really bad timing. I could have handled it a lot better if I had known I was going to see you at that day. And if it wasn't a self-appointed hall monitor, dutifully watching every move people made. And hi, good to see you, gotta go, was simply too much for your little heart to manage. Of course. The goal was to keep as much distance as possible. Admittedly, it was the guy you knew. Admitting that I was the guy you knew wouldn't have been helpful. So, you can't stand us, and me trying to reconnect was just a huge pain for you after all. Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you so much for saying so. No, it's not that. Don't feel bad though. You almost never wrong. Your older sister's brows twitched as she stared at Shiloh in entire disbelief. He smiled back at her brightly. I did it so this wouldn't happen. What? I dealt with that situation the way I always do. By saying stuff I didn't exactly mean because it was just easier that way. God, Jeremy, that's what I'm known for. Sure, right now you're mad that I pretended not to remember you, but if I hadn't done that, it would have been something else later on, and we would have ended up here still. Liz's anger became more and more difficult for her to maintain. It was soon replaced with a sad confusion. Then don't do that. Don't be like that. Might not be someone you're actually okay showing me. Shiloh chuckled, uncomfortably and searching for a way to explain himself to his former idol. I wouldn't have made you sad if I could have avoided it. I mean, that. I thought I could have at least finished this visit without issues. Jeremy wasn't someone I expected to call me out. That's pointless to him, usually. But I'm not gonna be someone whose personality revolves around making you happy. No matter how much I follow others, it wasn't for them. Every decision was mine. I couldn't be in charge. So being a sidekick was the best option. So being a sidekick was the best option. Being a sidekick was the best option was something I did for my sake. I chose to let people be the boss when that's what I need. I chose to swear to stop it. That's the best I can do for you. Now I spare you from dealing with that. I'm not as honest as you are. I'm not as nice as you are. I was always like that, even as a kid. But back then, I wanted to fit in. Even if that meant excluding someone else. Even if they were the odd one out. That mean I wasn't. Finding my place here was harder when Cove moved in. It was a good thing for everyone that I ended up moving myself soon after that. I knew it! I was sure he wasn't being honest back then. At least I'm admitting it now. I knew that's essentially how you were back then. You're a scaredy cat who wanted someone to defend you.
Jeez.
I simply imagined that in the past 10 years you outgrew that and learned how to speak to people like. How to speak to others like. I don't know an actual grown-up human being. Well, in my defense, I'm not an adult and I won't be 18 until later this year in October. October 30th. You remembered. So did you, punk. Jello chuckled, self-consciously as Liz smirked at him. There was an affable moment before she became serious again. I liked you when we were kids. I wanted you to know now. That's what upsets me the most. The idea that maybe you only wanted to be rid of your old friends.
Aww.
Oh, Lizzie. You're too good to need someone like me in your life. That's the truth. I'm not worth the effort. Except with unusual people who have odd taste. Then she straightened up in the sand, rushing her dress back out. That's an incredibly annoying thing to say. It's insane. You've only changed in stupid ways and stayed the same for the rest. Oh, that's fair. Is it? It means that maybe I have unusual taste. You could have stuffed Shiloh's entire hat in his mouth with how wide he opened it. Really? Well, as much of a mother hen is being compelled to look out for that chick, no matter how the eye is unusual. I can't help it. You haven't changed that much after all either. You're still Shiloh. You're painfully still Shiloh.
You're welcome.
I brought you out here and I'm not going to abandon you. It has to be someone's job for and to keep an eye on you. With her surety returning, she pulled herself off the ground and glowered down at Shiloh with her arms folded. Now, I do want an apology for everything you've done behind our backs when you could have opened with all that you just said. You should have given us a real chance or stayed at home. This time was rude to me, Callie, and Cove too. As if bringing the baby chick's comparison to life, Shiloh dutifully did as he was told. Sorry, Lizzie, Callie, and Cove, and everyone. I didn't want to cause problems and ruin the day. And you don't have to accept that because I'm just saying it. No, everyone needs to like everyone. Alright, then. You are kind of mean sometimes when we were kids, but I wasn't very nice to you either. All this recent stuff isn't really something to make about me, so I'm not gonna hold on to it. I mean, as long as you're not gonna keep upsetting people from now on. Thanks, Cove. I'll avoid doing that in the future. He then changed his focus to you. His expression was curious. He wanted to know where your feelings landed on this. On him. You gave him a faint smile, feeling sort of relieved. He preferred to get along rather than not, and it seemed that it was still going to be possible. Callie, you want to stay for what's left of the evening. As you got to your feet, you thought about it. Sorry. I actually have to go. Cove started nervously rubbing at his scar. Ended up looking at Liz. You both probably already know what I'm gonna say. Sorry. I don't want Callie to be left alone. Liz nodded and turned towards Shiloh. There was almost a wistful look in her expression. Well, it looks like it's me and Shiloh and Callie and Cove. It really is like good times. That got a smile out. That got a small laugh out of both Shiloh and Cove as they got to their feet. You then cracked a smile thinking about how things seem to always go the same way. Is there anything you want to do while you're here? Shiloh didn't answer right away. He seemed to be thinking hard about what he wanted. And then his expression softened. Could we go to the shore? That sounds wonderful. With a small wave to you and Cove, Liz began making her way to the beach. Shiloh took a step towards you and smiled. Bye, Callie. Bye, Cove. Bye. Bye. With that, he was already off, trailing after Liz, a few steps behind. You couldn't help but feel a wave of nostalgia wash over you as they went off together. Even if you didn't stay the entire day, you felt like you got closure from all of this, and not even just from Shiloh. Strangely, you got a resolution with Jeremy of all people, the old villain of that one summer long ago. Brushing your thoughts aside, you noticed Cove was waiting for you with a cautious smile. So, we're now in a world where Shiloh's personality is a lot harder to deal with Jeremy's. How did that happen? You chuckled awkwardly, not knowing what else to do. Cove did the same. Together you stayed at the park until the sun had fallen, and the day was over. Until the day was long over. You never could have seen where the day was heading when it started. However, you appreciated the opportunities it had brought in the end. It fell to end it with Cove. Besides, the immediate family, no one else had been there for you as long as he had. After that, Shiloh disappeared from Sunset Bird once again. Though this time it wasn't heartbreaking or hard to understand. This time it was just another part of life. And it helped that Liz had her own phone and laptop, and could easily check on him from time to time. The day and the week were now nearing their end, and you were welcoming it in your own way by laying sprawled out on your bed. It was quiet in your house, getting to that time of night where you really should be sleeping. You didn't feel tired at all. You rolled onto your side. Outside, the last lit up windows across the street blinked out, leaving the buildings on the block faceless silhouettes against the blue-black sky dotted by stars. The phone on the nightstand came to life. Your phone came to life on the nightstand, a pale light cast on the ceiling of your room. Without looking, you threw your arm out behind yourself, groping around on top of the table until your phone was under your palm. At that point, you lifted it to your face, snorting when you saw the familiar name attached to a short message just reading, "Hey!" There wasn't much for sleeping now either. As you made the reply though, more and more texts came through in quick succession. "Hey! You like doing things? You like doing things with me? I mean, what I'm saying is that there are things that you and I do and we like. Together, at the same time." Now that was eyebrow raising. You propped yourself up on one elbow, sitting upright against the headboard, so you could text more comfortably. Damn, you suck at texting. The indicator dropped off, and a notable pause followed. You took the chance to report in further. But the best way to fix that is to practice. You can keep sending your nonsense messages. It wasn't hard to imagine Cove red-faced and hunched over his phone in the dark, eyebrows furrowed as he tried to think of how to respond to your teasing. Fortunately, he didn't attempt to address it. What I was saying, you're free for a while, right? When's your next shift? Not for a few days. Cool, I thought so. I was just making sure. Alright. What if we did something new or sort of unexpected? Would you be okay with that? Something we haven't ever done together. You left your phone, leaning back against the headboard as you thought it over. The streets outside your window looked different at night, but you knew that if you were to wander out, there would be no chance of losing your way. There wasn't a single inch of your neighborhood that you didn't know by now. And everywhere you looked, from the grassy hills behind your house to the shops by the beach, you could recall a time you'd been there with Cove, mostly just chatting as you walked together. You didn't mind everyday things like that, but as for something new or unexpected, what's going into Cove Hold'em to want to do something brand new? Hey, I'm not predictable. Am I? You are. Oh. Well, not right now. One by one, Cove began presenting his ideas, starting off with attending a play. We've watched TV and movies together, but we don't want people performing in front of us. We've never done that. I'm not sure what plays are on it. Oh man, I suck at reading. I'm not sure what plays exactly are on right now, but that adds to the unexpected factor. There was a slight pause before Cove continued on to the next plan, visiting an aquarium. That makes sense, right? We go to the beach and stuff. We're pretty close to the water. But going to an aquarium would be water in a whole new way. The third and last idea was one most out of the blue. Ice skating! Ice skating? It was a total wild card, as Cove was putting it, and the polar opposite of what you two normally did. However, it was fitting in with the other options, and something you had never done together. Let's say if hypothetically someone wanted to surprise you with an unexpected outing, that'd be okay. You couldn't help but smile fondly at that, wondering to yourself who that someone could be. You said doing anything with him was good. As long as we're together, I'm okay. Oh. Thank you. It was clear from the quickness of his reply and the following pause that you'd caught him off guard. He was temporarily left without anything to say, but eventually he recovered. Could you still pick a favorite? We burst out laughing, began for a second time tonight. It'd be ice skating. The idea that was so out there that you could not pick it, and it was a chance to see Cove out of his element too. Alright, cool. Don't think too hard about this talk. It doesn't mean anything. You're making me laugh with this. I'm waking up everyone in the house. I don't know why. I'm not saying anything funny. Good night, Callie. It's really late now. Yeah, it is. Good night, Cove. On that final send-off, you put your phone to sleep and lowered it with a sigh. You had no idea when Cove was going to invite you to the ice rink, but your mind was buzzing with all the possibilities of the coming days that might bring. Your phone went back to its place on the nightstand, and you resumed snuggling into the mattress, one hand thrown to the side, and the other shoved under your pillow. Somewhere between this day and the next, you found yourself asleep. The next morning, after washing up from breakfast, you had just climbed the stairs to your room, ready to tackle the day when you heard the ringing of the doorbell. You turned to the sound, dangling your head in confusion. Was someone expecting a visitor today? Then again, you weren't even sure if anyone else was around, judging by the lack of footsteps you were hearing. You raced back down the stairs to answer the door. You pulled it open and saw who it was. You were only further confused. Cove. He was standing there with an unsure look on his face at first, like he didn't know who should answer the door. But the moment he saw it was you, a shy grin spread across his face. He raised one hand and gave you a little wave. Surprise. This is a surprise. Don't you usually... This is a surprise. Don't you normally use the window? You found that funny how you'd grown up so used to hearing him tap at the glass pane, that showing up at your front door was to be... You found it funny how you'd grown used to hearing him tapping at the glass pane, that showing up at your front door was what it took to get as a reaction. Cove turned his head to the side, with a considering lift of his eyebrows. I guess I do. But not today. I got you something. He set his hand out from behind his back, holding it up in front of your face when he offered the present to you. Your eyes widened once you saw what it was. A rare shell. You hadn't expected a gift, let alone something as full as this. Taking one look at your face, no doubt a complicated mix of happiness and shock, Cove let out a laugh. Surprise again. It really is. Hey, I just got an idea. You're free today. Would you want to go ice skate with me? That sounds like it could be fun, right? Oh my goodness, what a surprising and completely unexpected invitation. I really got to you, didn't I? With a snort, you shook your head at him. So, is that a yes? Even though you had just talked about this last night, there was a hint of uncertainty in Cove's voice. Of course it is. With his big question asked and accepted, Cove raised the gift towards you again, gesturing with his other hand for you to receive it officially. He carefully took it from him. I'll put this in my safe, and then we can go. Cove had no problem with that. Still grinning, he stepped back, his body angling away as he waved a hand in the air. I'll get my car ready then. Meet me there. Okay. As soon as the door clicked shut, you dashed up to your room, prepping a spot first for Cove's gift. And satisfied with your efforts, you grabbed your bag and tossed whatever else you thought you'd need for the outing before heading back outside. Cove's old car was parked right in front of the house. You went straight to it, hopping into the shotgun seat. As you buckled yourself in, Cove leaned forward to watch you with a sort of eager expression, his fingers tapping the dashboard to a lively sort of rhythm. He was ready to start, but trying to tone it down so you wouldn't feel rushed. I'm glad we're doing this together. Me too. Once your seatbelt was secured, Cove checked his mirrors to make sure the street was clear before pulling away from the curb, and like that, the two of you began your trip. Now that you were sitting down for the drive, it felt like a good moment to regain your bearings. You dragged your pack onto your lap and began thumbing through the things. Thumbing through your things to make sure that in your hurry to leave, you hadn't forgotten anything important. You dressed normally and didn't bring any extra layers. It was pretty hot outside, and honestly, how bad could it be? You zipped it closed again, and Cove began to speak, raising his voice to be heard over the ambient noise of the car ride. Ice skating. This is gonna be crazy. Having fun with water that's frozen? Unheard of. He chuckled at his own joke, and you shook his head at him, though you couldn't help grinning at his silly comment. Who knows? Maybe in colder places it's the opposite. That's weird. As you looked at him, you caught a glimpse of the back seat. It was empty, which wouldn't be strange any other day. Didn't bring a jacket? Nope. I hate extra layers. And there aren't any parents around to force me to do it now. You're probably gonna regret it once we're there. Cove's eyebrows knitted together as he began to pout. He didn't bring anything either. Had you there? You hoped he hadn't noticed your bag. Grimly, you folded your hands in your lap, finally conceding to your hypocrisy. You laid your arm against the window, the scenery outside passing in a blur until you arrived at the ice skating rink. The two of you grabbed your things and got out of the car. A wave of heat so thick it felt like you were swimming in it hit you as soon as you set foot onto the sun-hot asphalt of the parking lot. Cove glanced up next to you, dragging the back of his arm across his face. You and Cove exchanged looks. Well, here we are. His distorted smile seemed to say. The skating rink was a large building of glass and concrete with his name plastered in simple white letters above its entrance. The nondescript flat rooftop style architecture reminded you of the local mall. You went in. As the door stood shut behind you, you heard Cove's sharp intake of breath. You glanced over at him, seeing the stunned look on his face, his lips drawn in a tight frown. It's really cold in here. I guess you'll have to change your name from Cove to Cold. Cold Harden? Colden for short. That way, next time we come here. Cove had his arms wrapped around himself in an attempt to keep warm, all forgone in favor of you throwing a questioning look. You can say it's cold in here. You covered your mouth and snickered at your humor. The joke got a trembling smile out of him too. How about you? How are you feeling? I'm feeling just fine. There's no denying that the building was chilly, but it was a refreshing change compared to the sweltering heat of the parking lot. Really? Cove regarded you curiously, running his eyes over your outfit, which was just as about a fit for ice skating as his. He sounded impressed. Your neighbor shouted dramatically, almost retracting his head into his shirt in his renewed effort to keep warm. He shrugged. Tough luck for him. It was the price to pay for this skating adventure. On the short walk to the rental counter, Cove kept his arms wrapped around himself. Shiver occasionally. It crept into his voice as he told the clerk behind the counter his shoe size, and his face went pink with embarrassment. The two of you made it through the process in the end, though. Eventually, you had your skates. It was a particularly well-worn set, still sturdy, but where it once had been blue was now faded, and where it once had been white was now closer to tan. Just in time, and a low bench, you were set up with the rented shoes, and now stood by the opening to the rink. It was an oblong shape, surrounded by panelled walls and rails. You were a little amused to see that others dressed in t-shirts and shorts, and you turned to Cove to point it out. The answering laugh that came sounded a little distracted.
Well,
here we go. Attentively, he took one step out onto the ice. A series of movements that were reminiscent of a jack-in-a-box swinging back and forth on a spring. Though you might laugh, but it died in your throat for one heart-wrenching second. Cove's upper body tipped forward at a 90-degree angle. His hand shot out, slapping against the ledge running along the plexiglass panels at the side of the rink. A relief sigh left both him and you. He was mumbling to himself as he craned his head back. He must have caught the alarm on your face because he gave you a smile as shaky as his footing. I'll make it work. It was fun to see Cove's first time trying it, but you had done it before without him. He came forward to join him, and you flew out on the ice easily. Expertly, you built up a little momentum you needed and slid smoothly to stop at his side. Eyebrows raised in appraisal. Cove looked down at your feet as though he couldn't understand how they moved like that. It's kind of amazing. We're seriously ice skating right now. But this is what we decided to do. I should stop being surprised over everything. Let's skate. Right, let's do it. The two of you developed a cautious rhythm drawing long, slow circles around the edge of the rink side by side. You made sure the pace never exceeded what Cove was capable of. He was happy to let you guide him. You gave him pointers while making small strides. Sometimes he would take breaks to settle down, and give you the chance to flex more of your skills on your own. He seemed to enjoy that as much as attempting to skate himself. White puffs of air released from you and Cove as you laughed and cheered each other on for any achievement. Eventually, you noticed Cove exhale deeply. He was getting tired. You scooted up to him, ready to take another breather, as he rested his arms on the bar in front of him.
Hey.
Hey, would it be alright to ask why you chose this place? What made it a favorite out of everything? It doesn't matter why, I'm just curious. I really want to see you out of your comfort zone. Your teasing reply had Cove breaking eye contact. With a self-aware giggle, Cove conceded the point. Well, you succeeded there. This is about as far from my normal outing plans as I could get. With a second wind coming over Cove, he was ready to get back on the ice fray. You joined him without hesitation. The hours slid right past you, and just like that, it was time to suddenly call it a day. After retiring the borrowed skates, you and Cove ventured back out into the California air. Even though the sun was mostly behind the horizon, it was still palpably warmer than inside the rink. Cove rushed to his car, his shivering hands clutched yours. You let him pull you forward in his mad dash to the vehicle. Doors were opened and closed, seats were taken, the engine switched on, and heat turned onto the max. At that point, Cove finally relaxed. Your foray into the freezing cold had ended, and nicely at that. A ways into the drive, Cove glanced in your direction. You stretched your arms as you shifted in the seat, waiting patiently for him to say what was on his mind.
So,
I know this was unexpected, but thanks for coming along. It was fun, but still the worst attempt at a surprise ever. Cove snorted, and you both burst into laughter. You watched him with a wide grin. Yeah, you can't blame me for wanting to make sure you would at least like the surprise. I can't. I'm glad it happened the way it did. The drive continued in comfortable silence. Cove wore a content expression on his face that warmed your heart. Watching the scenery out of the window, you relaxed into the seat. The time sped by. It wasn't too long before Cove pulled into his driveway. Sighing happily, you got out of the car while Cove came around to where you were standing. He stood there for a moment, rolling a pebble under his shoe. I'll see you tomorrow? Definitely.
thanks.
After that, you and Cove parted ways for the rest of the day. Even when you fell back into your normal routine, your mind refused to stop buzzing with the memory of your little adventure. As you crawled into bed and closed your eyes, you were back in the best parts of today. You hoped Cove's surprise would continue just a bit longer and continue in your dreams. After breakfast the next morning, you were sitting with your moms and Liz. While you were mindlessly listening to the conversation, the side of your face squished into your palm of your hand. The doorbell rang.
Oh?
I'll get it. Your mom passed you to the front door. Your lazy easily followed her. Then you turned your attention to Mara and Liz. They were still lightheartedly chatting. You weren't sure what about. Your focus snapped when your name was called across the room. Hey, Callie, you've got a guest. Be right there. On your way to the front door, Mag gave you a shoulder pat as she returned to the living room. When she moved by, you saw who it was at the door. It was Cove, again. A smile stretched out across his face in the moment you met. Your eyes met.
Hi.
Hi, Cove, sweetie. Instantly, you looked over your shoulder to see Ma several feet away, but within eyeshot of the door, she waved. When you faced Cove again, he was looking at the ground shyly. It reminded you of the last time you'd seen him the night before. That was all you needed. That was all the push you needed to stab outside, closing the door behind you for some privacy. You coming to the door all the time is starting to get weird. You realize how ridiculous that sounds, right? Yeah, I know. But that doesn't stop it from being true, and you are the one that made a reasonable accusation of unheard of. Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile, and he shrugged. Then Cove chuckled as he pulled out another gift from behind his back. Surprise! Wanna go to the theater with me? What? He blinked, then switched to staring at him in bewilderment. Cove's eyes narrowed conspiratorially. The real surprise was that I was going to invite you to all three places. You never had to choose only one. I just needed to make sure they didn't sound completely terrible. The longer Cove spoke, the quieter his voice became. He shyly scratched at the side of his cheek. And to check you'd be free. So, surprise again. You don't have to do that. Cove's eyebrows furrowed together. He looked like he was thinking way too hard. I know I don't have to, but I want to. Is that okay? Slowly a small smile broke out across your face, and you nodded. The tension in Cove's eyebrows softened. Oh, do you like what I got you? Cove nudged the present in his hand towards you, hoping you'd take it. Until now you hadn't completely registered it. It was a carefully chosen ukulele case. You're doing so much, I feel a little bad. You don't have to. I'm not missing out on anything by doing nice stuff for you. And I think you should have these good things. You didn't tell me to do stuff. You didn't tell me to do it. Okay. Trusting Cove, you pushed your worries aside. You took the gift and smiled softly. Are you gonna accept the other part too? Yeah, let's go to the theater. Be fun. Elated, Cove bounced on the tip of his toes. You could feel the happiness radiating off of them in waves. Thank you for coming. I'll be in the car so you can get ready. Alright. You sped back inside and spotted your family still sitting around the table. They all turned and smiled at you. So, what's the plan for today? I'm going to the theater with Cove. That sounds so fun. Ma smiled beamed at you. The gaze slid over to Liz. She also looked happy for you.
Have fun.
I hope you have a great time. It didn't take you long to get ready and dash out the front door. Cove was waiting for you, as promised, and you both set out for day 2 of his surprise outings. And this time, it was actually a surprise. So, when I looked it up, there were 2 shows we could pick from around this time. One was a historical romance with nobility, fancy outfits, drama, and stuff. The other seemed like a modern day story, something near a lake and out of bed and breakfast comedy. Kinda wacky, I guess. So, what do you think? You beg. Are you sure? This trip is meant to be for you. Yeah, what are you thinking? His face quickly went red, pretending not to notice. He waited for his answer patiently. I think the historical one sounds interesting. You thought it was sweet that he was shy about wanting to see a romance. You gave him a small smile. We can do that one then.
Alright.
I'm getting kind of excited. I wonder what it'll be like. I haven't seen a live play before. I have. And I liked it. Your eyes shone with delight, remembering the dazzling lights and the grand stage. The theater was a treat you sadly enjoyed. The rest of the drive flew by, and soon enough, you were at the theater. Both by your side, tickets in hand, you both went inside. Shuffling down the aisle, Cove found the right seats, and you were settled in when the lights began to dim. You made it just in time. Your voice came out in a whisper, glancing at Cove. You saw him staring ahead, with eyes growing wider with intrigue. Then the actors started coming out on stage. The show set a scene focusing on a group of wealthy families. Then a web of drama they entangled themselves in. Despite the tension and chaos, the two lovers emerged. The swift engagement drew nothing but disapproval from their friends and family. Is this fucking Romeo and Juliet? Oh, I swear it's Romeo and Juliet. But disapproval from their friends and family. You expected there would be several trials before lovers could reach any kind of happy ending. You only became absorbed in the story and plays. You weren't the only one. During the touching scenes, you could hear quiet sniffling coming from the seat where your long-time neighbor was. When the play finally came to a close, the audience broke into applause. Cove clapped for the actors until the noise died down. Then he spoke for the first time since the event began. It's over. Nodding, you followed Cove out of the theatre. The sun was hanging low in the sky. I had so much fun. I can't believe what a good time that was. But really, I might have to come back sometime to see the other one. Chris scratched at his cheek contemplatively. I sort of thought it was going to be harder to keep up with what's the phrase? Suspension of disbelief. The actors were right there putting on a show. I thought it would be too much to believe it was really happening. But I felt more into it than with a lot of movies. I could totally picture the world they lived in. Amused, you nodded and listened to Cove's animated commentary. I'm still thinking about it, even though it's over. Imagine it was like us, attending high society parties and living in grand mansions. We would have to deal with being rich and powerful, and the politics or whatever that went along with it. Our families would try to force us to follow certain paths, and we would still find our own way to each other and to the things we want to do. Had stars in his eyes as he fascinated about the events of the story. Are you envisioning us being married like the couple in the story? He jerked. Raised an eyebrow accusingly, but your tone left little room for doubt. You were teasing. Cove laughed at your joke too. It only made you snicker harder. His mouth pulled into a crooked smile. How do I know you're not the one imagining that? You're the one who brought that part of it up. Because I'm not. Cove raised an eyebrow and shot you a teasing look. Laughing, you shook your head. Go back to your daydreams and let me know how this story turns out. A few quiet moments passed, and you noticed a distant look on Cove's face. He shook his head like he was trying to send the thought away. What is it? Trying to really picture a completely new life. A new place feels actually kind of weird. Now I'm doing it. I'm not exactly sure how to explain. It's exciting but also sad. I'm thinking too seriously about this dumb idea, I guess. But if I don't remember anything from this world, then it'll be pointless that I had a life before. And if it really happened, I probably would be surrounded by totally new people. I wouldn't have you with me anymore. Surprised you sucked in a breath. Cove laughed shyly. The fun part of imagining it was all was that you were there by default. Now getting to be somewhere else in my own wouldn't be nice no matter how cool the place was. It's all then. I'll just have to look for you if I wind up having another chance at life, or magically end up in some other world. Hope you try to find me too. I'll see how it goes. My new life might keep me busy. You can't help grinning like an idiot at your own jerk. Cove rolled his eyes. Thank you so much for your consideration. His voice was heavy with sarcasm, and it sent you in a fit of laughter. Cove turned away, feeling disapproval. He took a deep breath and stretched his arms high over his head, and then turned to his car. He then turned his head to your direction and pointed with his thumb to his car. We gotta get back to our real world now, huh? It's getting late. I think we're the only ones still out here. You spun around to get a good look at your surroundings. It was right. All the other cards that were out here after the show ended were long gone. Flats! You were surprised how much you really lost track of everything for a while. You didn't fail to notice how dark it had gone till now.
Come on,
let's go home. After that, you made your way into Cove's car. You set course for your neighborhood. Your legs felt stiff from standing still and talking for so long, but it was worth it. The ride home went far too fast, and you and Cove were in good spirits, and spent the ride chatting and laughing and bouncing around to various topics. But you did ask the question that sat in the back of your mind. Why was Cove doing all this in the first place? Again, you both parted ways for the night in the neighborhood. You watched Cove head inside with a quick wave. You're halfway turning to your own street when a familiar voice called out to you. Turning on your heels, you spotted Mr. Holden. You lightly jogged over to talk.
hey!
Oh my god, it's Mr. Holden! I haven't seen you in ages! And your voice sounds really weird all of a sudden. Like, seriously.
Hey!
It might just be that hey that's putting me off right now. Hey, how are you? I'm good. Great! I was just getting home from work. What are you up to? Or rather, what are you doing? What were you up to today? You and Cove went to the theater? You did? Huh. Sounds fun. It was fun. And it was also a surprise. Which is weird, since usually me and Cove are not hanging out. Would be what sounds surprising. Crossing your arms, you gave a quick laugh. Mr. Holden frowned. He rubbed the back of his neck and studied you for several silent moments. Right. So, Callie, what's going on here? There's something going on, isn't there? Huh. Wait, what makes you ask? There's no problem, right?
So...
I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Deal? You rolled a pebble under your shoe. Mr. Holden was probably the only person who could give you a solid insight to what Cove was doing. Alright, deal. What's the story? The truth is, Cove has been doing a lot for me lately. Way more than usual. For 2 days in a row, he's planned special outings and gifts too, and I don't know why. Cove's rather nodded complacently. He accepted the situation easily. That makes a lot of sense considering. Wait for him to continue. There was no reason to interrupt until you had his answers. There was a pause, unsure of what to say next. Hard to phrase it, at least. Honestly, I've been a little bit worried about Cove lately. He's gone really up in his head about something, but it's not exactly a bad thing. It's tough to know how to even bring it up. I'm not sure if I should try to have a talk about it. The longer he spoke, the wider your eyes grew with the concern. There was more happening than a few meaningless hangouts. Okay. He raised his hands in a calming motion when he noticed your reaction. Let me explain. I noticed Cove's been getting lost in thought more often recently, and sometimes he has his laptop out in the living room. He leaves it laying on the couch or puts it on the coffee table, and I have a clear view of it from there, and I obviously can see him looking up stuff on it. Cove keeps searching one phrase in different wordings of it too. Then he'll spend ages clicking through linked results. The line is, how do you make someone happy? Just that, again and again. You had to consciously close your mouth after that. You didn't know what to say after hearing the revelation. Mr. Holden gently beamed. Isn't he such a good kid? He continued, but his tone was rueful. Unfortunately, I can relate to Unfortunately, I can relate all too well. That conundrum. Who am I to judge, right? Mr. Holden shrugged in an exaggerated way to lighten the mood back up. Before, I was thinking Cove might have gone into a fight with someone, but it sounds like I was way off the mark. Cove clearly has other plans on the brain. I'm even more confused whether this has something I should get into or not. You know, actually, I was wondering if you could have a little chat with him about what's going on. It sounds like you're at the core of Cove's sudden study sessions, so he might feel more at ease talking about it, or more embarrassed. But he'd still probably do it. I would really appreciate it. Your gaze trailed over to the Holden residence. Mr. Holden made a very good point, you had to admit. I'll do it.
Good kid.
I'll do it.
Good kid.
Thanks. You're also a really good kid. You shook your head with a smile and started walking towards where Cove went. After a few steps, you realized Mr. Holden wasn't following. Glanced back at him. I'm gonna hang out here for a bit. Make sure you have some space to talk without a parent in the way. The door's probably unlocked, so go right in. Okay. But you hesitated for a moment. Mr. Holden's smile faded. Thanks for talking with me. This has been on my mind too. And I think it'll be good to ask Cove if everything's okay.
Absolutely.
Agreed. It'll shake out in the end. I'm sure. Mr. Holden grew much happier than he was a moment ago. Feeling ready, you turned right around and went into the house. Man, he has a really big smile. Hey, Cove was sitting on the couch with his aforementioned laptop. Oh look, they have green apples. He peeked over you with a puzzled look, and then it melted into a smile. I thought you were my dad. You forget something. What are you doing on your laptop? You asked the question simply enough while pointing at the computer. Cove's eyes stepped down to the screen. Nothing, really. Why are you here? Only you asked Cove about his searching. We need to talk about something. Okay. Cove closed his laptop and laid it on the couch cushion next to him. He got up, shuffled past the coffee table, and stopped right in front of you. He spoke in a hushed tone, only hearable because of the new closeness. Is everything alright? You tell me. I heard from your dad that you've been fixated on the idea of how to make someone happy. Why? Anything wrong? You noticed that? Are you mad? No. I guess I was distracted. I didn't think people around would actually be paying attention or taking notice of things. He awkwardly chuckled at himself. Oh? Will you tell me why you felt like doing that so much? Allie. Cove looked at you with large honest eyes. I did it because I want you to be happy. You don't have to do something big, expensive surprise for that. You can just be yourself. Cove started out another laugh, and the tension in his shoulders eased. Thank you for thinking that. Telling me? I don't know. He was completely frazzled on what to say. His rambling put a grin on your face. His gaze fell onto the floor, and he defaulted to rubbing at his arm.
Sorry.
I wasn't trying to make you or Dad concerned. I didn't want to upset anyone. Sorry. Don't worry. No one's upset. Cove took a deep breath. You could see in his expression lighten, but he was lost in thought. What made you start doing all of this now of all times?
I don't know.
I don't know. With each deep frown, Cove looked back at you and repeated the phrase. Each time, the inflection was different. Like he intended to say something different, but was coming out with the same non-reply. I don't know anything. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to understand his own motivations. Yes. Even with everything that's been happening, and everything that's coming soon, it's just kind of hit me that we're neighbors. A quick snort of air came out of your nose from his conclusion. Yeah? You lived right across the street from me for 10 years, and the only other kid that's grown up on this whole neighborhood is your older sister. His weak smile bent, and then there's our parents. They sure were putting in the effort for the two of us to get to know each other. Cove shook his head with a laugh. His gaze was fired away as nostalgically reflected on the history you had. Basically, everything in our lives was set up for us to be together. It was always effortless. And why not? It practically went without saying that we'd be around each other, but it won't be like that forever. Our parents can't always be there to arrange things. We can't live in the same old world on this street forever. Do I even know how to make it work when I don't have every advantage possible? I made you happy in the past, but how can I keep doing it? What even is it that I do that makes you happy? Cove started running a hand through his hair again, but he stopped partway through. He looked at you honestly. It was like breathing. When you're just going through life, you do what you're doing without even thinking. And then someone reminds you that you're breathing, and you become more conscious of it. Being with you is the same. I do what I normally do without pondering deeply on it. But now, this stuff has made me start feeling about it. Then, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I felt like I needed to try harder, make an effort, for you, for the relationship we had. I tried to, and, well, that's what I did. Cove stretched the back of his neck. He looked sheepish now. It seemed like such a good idea in my head. It made complete sense. But maybe it was dumb. You threw your arms around him in a hug. Crashing into Cove, you wrapped your arms tightly around him and buried your face in his neck. You nearly knocked the air out of his lungs moving so fast, but Cove soon recovered and held you back. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Cove shifted how he was standing and watched you bashfully. Cove, you will always make me happy. An adoring smile grew on his face as you could see your words sink in. You hoped he understood the depth of your emotions. You make me happy every day. I care about you. I should be thanking you for everything you've done. Thank you. There was a pause where neither of you was certain who was going to speak next. Cove sniffled.
Wow.
Thank you, Callie. Thanks for looking out for me. Even when I didn't notice I was doing something worth checking in on. You're amazing. Someone has to do it. Cove narrowed his eyes to appear annoyed, but there was no amount of pretending that was going to extinguish the happy look on his face. His mouth curled into a smirk. Cove chuckled. Now that everything was out in the open, his words were lighter. I got a thing with my dad, too. I can always count on him to be around. I have such good people in my life. He smiled softly. Cove withdrew, looking shy. Can I still show up tomorrow and invite you on the last surprise outing? I'll be just fine. I'm looking forward to it. You knew that you were smiling like an idiot, but honestly, you didn't mind too much. Spending time with Cove was the easiest thing to you, and the feeling was mutual. Cove watched you with honest eyes. He simply wanted to spend having fun with you. Spend time having fun with you. I can't wait. Alright, you should probably go home, huh? It's getting late and you'll need your rest. He looked at you, attempting to feign an innocent expression. I mean, what if something just happens to happen tomorrow? He laughed as Cove grinned, acknowledging his poor attempt at subterfuge. Good night, Callie. Good night, Cove. You rested up too. You headed to the front door, waving, as Cove saw you out. When you walked onto the street, you noticed Mr. Holden was still standing out there. He looked up at the sound of the door closing behind you. His phone in hand, he smiled as he seized up the situation.
Oh?
You're in there a while. I hope that's good news. I'm sorry to keep you out here so long. He waved it out. I didn't mind giving you guys a wide berth. We had no clue how sensitive the issue was. I wasn't about to risk messing it up by poking around where I wasn't needed. Besides, I was chatting with Gregorio? Dirk's dad, my very professional business partner. About very professional business things. It's fine. Okay. It all worked out, so that's good. Great! Glad to hear it. Everything truly resolved. You exchanged goodnight wishes to Mr. Holden before continuing the very brief trip home. Not wishing to disturb anyone, you snuck inside. You quietly snuck inside and gently pushed the door closed behind you. It clicked into place with minimum fuss. You let out a sigh. Your mind buzzed as you climbed up the stairs to your room. Cove had done so much to make you happy, and you knew he'd be back tomorrow with another big surprise! You resolved enough was enough. You were going to thank him with a gift to surprise him with a change of plans. Cove had brought you 2 gifts already, and the odds are a third was coming. It was time to turn the tables and have something ready to give to him. At this hour, that was easier said than done. Most doors were long closed, and Cove would be here bright and early to surprise you tomorrow morning. Never ruled out the purchasing a gift the way he'd done for you. Luckily, you've known Cove long enough to see a solution to this problem. Your neighbor was always a happy boy when he was given food. You were sure you could wrestle something fitting that description out of the kitchen one way or another. Feeling invigorated, you spun around and sped back downstairs. It was time to put your plan into action. You're a great chef. You can make something you love. You seized up your options. With an early start, you'd be able to pull something. With an early start, you'd be able to pull together something simple in the morning. If you wanted to go for something more elaborate and time-consuming, you need to do it right now. There were also the options of rallying the troops. Your moms knew how to cook wonderfully, and you could easily persuade them into giving you a hand with this. You decided to do it alone. Yeah. Don't want to get our moms involved. You decided to do it alone. It was for the best. You chose to bake cinnamon rolls. Even as a grumpy little boy who just moved in, cinnamon, sugar, and frosting had brought a smile to his face. He was going to light up with childlike glee when he saw you'd planned. Look how cute that smile is. There was no time like the present. You found a suitable recipe and started pulling ingredients out, ready to be measured. Once you had everything you needed lined up and ready for attention, you began working through the steps. You made the dough quickly, knowing it would need time to rise before it would be ready to roll out. And you continued with... and then you continued with the recipe. You stuffed the dough into a bowl with cling film, hoping the yeast would do its job. You wouldn't have to be surprised. You wouldn't have to be worried. An hour later, and the dough had doubled in size, just as promised. You continued with the recipe, rolling out the dough, laying it with cinnamon sugar, filling that Cove had loved, and readied the rolls for the oven. Soon the kitchen was full of sweet smells as the heat joined the ingredients in one. As you waited for the timer, you Your mind continuously drifted back to the younger days. You recalled the chatter of tourists and seagulls on the busy shopping street that felt so vast when you were a child. Eventually, a beeping brought you back to the present. The rolls luckily came out fluffy and golden, naked without their white frosting coats. You whipped that while they were baking, but you had to fight the urge to ice them right away. Until they were cooled, any frosting you put on them would melt right away. Once you were satisfied they had cooled down, you topped them with a sufficiently thick layer of frosting. You dusted off your hands, satisfied with the job well done. With your mission accomplished, you headed back up to your room. You took the steps light and feeling buoyed, as you imagined how happy Cove would be with your unexpected gift. Cove's plan was extremely thoughtful, just like him, but you couldn't let him be the only one concocting schemes. With his attention diverted on his own surprise, it was the perfect opportunity for one of your own. You could never see it coming. That didn't mean thinking out something was going to be easy. You wouldn't want to do anything that might risk making him uncomfortable, or a random activity just for the sake of doing something new. It would be something he'd actually want to do. Double Cove. The obvious destination was the beach. He never got tired of the sea, no matter how many hours he spent with it. And while there are many beaches in California, you knew he would be happy with any of them. Trip to the shore wouldn't cut this time. After all, you both still inevitably wind up doing the same things you always love to do on the beach. And time would pass much the same as it would if you were still in your hometown. You wanted this one to be something special. Luckily, as Cove associated himself with the ocean, you were one of the few people who knew there was another quite different type of location that he treasured. Surprising him with a trip to somewhere else with that element was kind of the moment he'll cherish forever. Pulling up your browser on your phone, you search for the phrase "sunset bird, white poppy field." Smiling to yourself, you settled down and began the hunt for the perfect spot. Cove was working so hard to make you happy. You really wanted your friend to be happy too. You could only hope your efforts would work as well for him as his plans were working for you. You were up early the next day, ready and waiting for Cove's inevitable appearance. Your eyes were packed listening for the doorbell, but instead what you heard was a familiar rapping on the window pane. There was no need to look to know who it was. Only one visitor used your window for his personal entryway. You ended up headed over to let him in. You gazed into your neighbor's face as you unfastened the window, opened it wide. He smiled at you, still crouched on the window ledge. Tired of using the front door already? Cove's laugh was as airy as cotton candy sold on the boardwalk. He was in good spirits. Surprise. I'm really keeping you on your toes. What'll I do next? He waggled his eyebrows at the joke. You stepped back to let him enter the room. Today he clambered through with extra difficulty, thanks to the object he was collecting securely. He guessed it was another gift. So, what did you bring this time? You teased him, continuing the joke he began. Cove bashfully smiled, glancing down at the item in his hand before holding it out to you. His eyes were trained on you, searching for your emotion on it. I hope you like it. You hugged him. You threw your arms around him and hugged him tightly. Cove nuzzled your heads, holding your present carefully. You're so cute. I still don't know what the present is. He chuckled self-consciously as he gave a long look to the meaningful gift he had selected. It was as if it was growing heavier in his hands. I really do support your goals. I just want you to know that. Yeah, I know. You accepted the thoughtful present into your own grasp. Only once he transferred ownership and cemented it with your approval. Did Cove straighten up and pull himself together?
Well,
I wonder if it's just like a random object that we get to consider. It's like, it just, as far as I'm aware, it didn't tell me what it was. Okay, well, it would be alright for me to take you out today. We could go, I don't know, go to the aquarium? He smiled, already anticipating that you'd say yes. You smiled to yourself, wondering how to break your counter-surprise to Cove. Change of plans, huh? A beat passed as Cove waited for the punchline that didn't come. He tilted his head, nonplussed by your declaration. There's somewhere else I'd like to go today. Could you come with me? His mouth hung open. The rest of what he was trying to say disappeared into thin air. The shock hadn't even started to wear off, but he found one more word. Okay. You're thrilled to have him on board. Now the two of you could focus on putting the plan into action. First part is already here. You can have it now.
what?
Really? That was amazed how surprised he was. Cove spent 3 days raining gifts and special trips on you. He hadn't at all counted on you doing something in return. What is it? Stay here for a second and I'll show you. Okay. He watched you expectantly as you turned around and headed downstairs. You reached where the cinnamon rolls were, waiting, collected the prize. You flipped back around to your room and gift in hand. There was a smile playing out on your face. Cove was patiently waiting where you left him, tapping his fingers against the side of his pants. I hope it's enough for a grown boy like you. Cove was perked up at your words before he even had a chance to see what the present was. You got me food? You laughed. You laughed. You definitely called it that he would appreciate this gift. He handed the gift over for his inspection. His eyes widened when he saw the treat. I whipped this up just for you. Oh! He blinked, the present totally taken him by surprise, but his eyes were alight with glee. You made me cinnamon rolls? I love them, though I don't get them a lot. They're not the kind of thing we normally have around. Glanced up for you shyly. I can't believe you still remembered. Amazing. You chuckled recalling those moments ago when you spent together. How could you not remember days with a guy like him? Sentimental air quickly dispersed as he scooped up the cinnamon bun and gracefully squished half of it into his mouth. You like it? I could take a guess, but it would be nice to know for sure. Cove kept chewing, gesturing apologetically to his occupied mouth. Finally, what felt like an age, he swallowed. It's so good, the best I've ever had. Cove wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, now a little calmer after the initial burst of excitement. Cove's feelings instead settled into an easy warm of affection.
It's nice.
Thank you for this. So nice of you. Just do me a favor. Don't eat so fast that you choke. I make no promises. His features softened, and you felt like you were being thoroughly appreciated. The food you gave was also getting its due attention. He'd already gone in for his second serving. You can't blame his indulgence. That said, the amount you'd given him was enough for several servings. Far more than Cove could usually finish at once. You made sure of it. But as you continued devouring it, you were starting to suspect polishing it all off was the goal. In spite of the generous portion, he was willing to try and eat it all in order to show you how much he liked the present. It's okay to save some for later, I don't mind. You could tell that he wanted to show how taken he was with this gift, but you did not present him as a chance to be overcome. Cove finished his current bite and now a satisfied sigh. Alright, I'll stop for now. There's other stuff to do and I can have more later. You smiled, relieved that your gift could be enjoyed and not inhaled. But as Cove consumed as much as he managed to, for the time being, bagged the rest for later. It was time to direct him to the next part of the surprise. I'll drive this time. He accepted easily, going along with your mystery plan without resistance. That was early. He was definitely curious, and you weren't going to let his hopes down. There was no time to waste as you left your house immediately after establishing the new surprise plan. You hurried out onto the street and practically jumped into the car. Cove tottering behind at your heels like a faithful hound. Your excitement was obviously rubbing off on him. You drove with purpose, your mind solely on the destination. Not even Cove's puppy dog eyes could distract you from your goal, or implore you to spill the secret of where you're headed. When you finally came to a stop, it was in the parking lot in the middle of nowhere. You confidently unclipped your seatbelt while Cove looked around bemused. Here we are? He looked at you for confirmation. You're happy to provide it. We're here. After that, the two of you got out of the car. Cove turned to you, evidently still baffled, but optimistic for what could be coming.
So?
What now? Cover your eyes, I'll lead you in the right direction. Whatever you say, Callie. Complicated by your orders as you got him into place. You appreciated how easy he was playing along. He clutched his hands tightly against his eyes, his fingers clamped together so not to even a speck of light could pass through. He was taking this very seriously. He let you direct him along the way, obediently following your instructions. Eventually you came to the edge of the parking lot. The crunch of gravel underfoot came to an end, replaced by a dirt path. You saw a flicker of recognition on Cove's face as the terrain changed, but he hadn't questioned where you were headed. You simply continued to make your way forward as best as you could. The dirt made its way to grass. You found a lonely white flower. It was the first, you were sure, of many to come. Like floral signposts, they popped up infrequently as you kept moving, determined to bring Cove to the destination you uncovered online. Your body was thrumming with emotion now that you were getting close to your goal. Now was an excitement for control as you approached your destination. As it came into view, the thrill easily won out. It was perfect. You positioned yourself behind Cove so the full reveal was the first thing you saw, completely unobstructed. Taking a deep breath, you prepared yourself for the confirmation of your surprise. You can look now. Not only wanting to wait a moment longer, Cove dropped his hands from his face. Oh my god, it's so beautiful! Holy shit! Spanning in front of the two of you was a wide open field, densely carpeted with white poppies in full bloom. Hundreds upon hundreds of soft petals lightly bobbed in comfortable breeze, as if waving to welcome you both. Cove had frozen in place, his jaw was slack, hanging open in amazement, as though he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. You couldn't blame him. The dissonance between the unassuming parking lot, mundane and man-built, and man-made, to a bounty of nature which you brought him to, was startling in itself. And other than the hill behind your house, you'd not encountered this flower in the wild. From Cove's perspective, to suddenly be greeted by a natural paradise, tailored to him, right down to his favorite flower, must have been something he'd normally get in only a dream. Cove blinked, slowly repeatedly, as he took in the expansive flora lay before him. Hairs began to form, clutching onto his eyelashes, and clumping them together. He lifted his gaping mouth into a wobbly open-mouthed smile that tittered between joy and disbelief. Oh my god. He was too choked up to even string three familiar words together. He laughed in surprise. He left him speechless. Finally, Cove regained some composure. He opened his mouth to attempt speech once more. See, are you really so confused to why I want to do so much for you? When you go and... Just to finish the thought, he waved a hand at the beautiful field you had found just for him. His voice, which had been bright and dimmed to a soft murmur, when he followed up the next question. Nobody else in the entire world would do this to me. Nobody. I'm glad to do it for you. You meant every word. So, Can we look at the flowers together? His voice was still, as though speaking too aloud might shatter the magic. I'd be happy to. He giggled in a tiny giddy way at that. Thanks, Callie. Carefully as to not disturb the peace as little as possible, you and Cove managed to find your way through the field of flowers. Now that you reached the destination, there was nothing to hide. You could walk side by side once more, eyes wide open to what was ahead. You really cherished taking the journeys as partners. With the conclusion of Cove's big plan and yours, you might have expected to feel a little wistful. It had been an exciting few days, but there was no need to yearn for what had gone. After all, you knew the two of you would always find new ways to bring a smile to the other's face. It's what you both did, and you were looking forward to the new surprises already. And that's the end of this episode. It's a pretty long one again. But hey, that's the price you pay for doing 2 DLCs, and we have now managed to align the non-DLCs with the DLCs, so we can pair them up nicely. I think Reflection will be the last DLC we do, for sure, and you'll see why when we cover Reflection. I bid thou adieu.